Oh my goodness. Did you know that football is a violent sport? Maybe even too violent? This is RamView.
It's hot out there, but let's blow them off the line of scrimmage. Headline, offense.
Live from the Ram Cave, I'm Joe Terosian, and this is RamView, the September 22nd, 2023 edition, brought to you by Kistler Law Firm. Injured in an auto accident? Need help? Got questions? Call Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. That's Kistler Law at 661-206-6990. And check out KistlerLawFirm.com. That's one word. KistlerLawFirm.com. Kistler Law, they've been fighting for you since 92. And by Temple City Auto Repair. Having some auto issues? Get yourself some John and Henry at TempleCityAutoRepair.com. And by Granite Ridge Christian Camp, a place where your life can change. All right, happy to be here. I was hoping to be here earlier. Loyal RamView listener, follower Tim Burns was asking me, and I thought I was going to go on by 3:30, but matters of state took precedence over matters of state, and I didn't get on here till about 5 o'clock. Those that are watching now, those that are watching later, thank you very much. As I think about this Monday night game between the Rams and the Bengals, all I'm really thinking about is avenging those two Monday night losses the Rams had back in the 70s. You know, the game in 76, I'm sure you all remember. The Coy Bacon game where the Bengals defense just speeded up the Rams 20-12. And then, of course, the Chris Barr game back in 78. You remember that one, of course, too. And I've really been angry about those games for over 40 years. So I don't understand what they're talking about revenge for some Super Bowl. But I am excited. And the reason I think I'm excited is because I'm actually a little nervous. I came into the season expecting the Rams very confidently to go 0-3 to open the year. I just expected that. And that didn't mean I was negative about the season. It just meant that there was a reality that there was going to be a learning curve, that some of these players who have started to develop sooner than we thought, and this line that's starting to gel sooner than we think it would, that the Rams are suddenly competitive. So I thoroughly enjoyed the Seahawks game, not expecting anything. I wasn't until the back half, maybe about going into the fourth quarter of the 49er game, that I was really going, oh my goodness, the Rams could win this thing. And really, it was just a couple of early, rookie mistakes, not necessarily just rookies, but second year guys without a lot of experience, just a couple of mistakes that could have turned that whole game around for the Rams. And by the end of it, I felt myself standing up from my seat, doing a little pacing like I usually do. And now this Monday night, I'm all into it in the sense that this is a critical game. This game, especially if Joe Burrow doesn't play, and the Rams need to win this game if Joe Burrow doesn't play, to be 2-1 at the start of this season and what was expected is off the charts. Even if Joe Burrow plays, he's not going to be 100%. The Rams need to win this game. If the thinking that we're all starting to have, and then what everybody jumping on board now saying they could win 10, 11 games is true, then this is now a game that you have to win. Indianapolis next week is a game that we said they had to win, right? We expected them. That's a win. Cardinals games are wins. Bengals in Cincy on a Monday night early in the year. Everyone's all amped up about what kind of season it's going to be for the Cats. And now the Rams have a shot where they're not only going to be competitive, but they should take this game. It just changes your whole outlook on the season. And it went from something like, hey, let's enjoy this ride, to like, hey, man, now let's get it done. So I am excited about Monday night and about what's going to take place there. If you need me, you better be on your deathbed, because I don't want to talk to you unless you're a Ram fan. Just joking, having some fun with you. Okay, speaking of the first day of fall, 'tis the season. Leaves are changing. Weather is beautiful. And, of course, what's been going on the last 2 days, the NFL is too violent, right? Someone who's never played a sport, never padded up, or someone looking for votes, someone looking for standing, someone looking for clicks, something looking for traction in the social media world, is now declaring the NFL is too violent. I've seen on Yahoo, I see it in different places. And I agree, the NFL is violent. But here's the thing, no one makes you play football, right? Now, if you want to argue about turf, I'm all for everything being on grass. This goes back to the player strike many years ago, which I might talk about today, that, they should have been getting rid of AstroTurf and any facsimile thing somewhat even appearing close to grass 50 years ago. That the players didn't go on strike about that is insane, but they should have gone on strike about that. Football should be played on grass. There is no really good substitute to it. Some of the field turf is okay, but no, I'm all for if it's on grass. If you want to make this an argument about violent sport played on something synthetic, I'm all in. But remember this, Joe Burrow strained his calf in camp. Aaron Rodgers went down on a really soft contact play. Trevon Diggs blew his ACL yesterday in practice. And Robert Woods did the same thing in 2021 for the Rams in practice, right? And none of those were monster hits. And then you add the monster hits, and then, people are going to go down playing football, because this is the truth about football. It's not risk averse, right? There's a high risk and reward to playing football. Everybody knows this when you play football. It's the nature of the game. It's what's made the game great. And like a whole lot of things, you can't make it 100% safe. Just every whining politician, every whining activist that needs a new soapbox to stand on will always talk about violence in football. And we need to do this and we need to do that. And folks, you're never going to make it 100% safe. And actually, I think when you try to make it safer, many times you actually make it more dangerous, because football is a sport you have to play at 100%. You play less than 100%, you're going to get hurt. And the other thing here, too, is flag football is not football. It's not even a credible simulation. Flag football is speed and skill and seldom measures the heart. It doesn't have the ability to measure the heart. The reason that football has taken off in America and is methodically taking hold in Europe and Mexico is because while it has skill and speed that people can appreciate, football also requires a heart tested with adversity, right? That it's not all about speed and skill. It's about the will. It's about pushing through. It's about, making lemonade out of lemons, right? And you cannot make the football that is loved and embraced and that we're all drawn to, you cannot ever make it 100% safe. And I don't want to hear the garbage from the hyper-righteous that tell you, well, maybe you just don't want to see people be safe, and we do. I heard that same stupid argument thrown at me when they were talking about collisions at the plate and collisions in the field for baseball. Well, we just like to see people healthy. They don't like to see people healthy. They want control, and they want to diminish something they can't control. Very Mr. Potter-like, right? Something you can't control, that the government and that the do-gooders want to get their hands on, and they want to scale it down so they can have some say. This isn't the Hunger Games, right? No one is forced to play football. And I know where this goes because I've had this discussion. It goes to, well, those underserved poor kids in the inner city, they're desperate for a better life, so they'll risk everything to play this game, which my first response is, if you've ever been hit, playing football? There's nothing after you've been hit playing football in terms of, hey, I just want to do a better life here, that's going to make you get up and take that hit again. No, football is something that you love and you're passionate about, and you take the hits because you want to keep playing, not because you're thinking of something beyond. And the other aspect of it is, if the kids in the inner city think football and sports or entertainment are the only way out, then can I just say, then that's the fault of the culture, the parenting, the elevation of our entertainment industry, and the despicable state of our public education to have kids believe or educate them so poorly to believe that they got to be these amazing athletes, which they are amazing athletes, or to escape the inner city. Without going deeper, I'll finish here because I can go on this all day. I'll finish and let you figure out the rest. Attacking football and what it requires to play football the way you see it in the NFL, the way you see it in college, heck, the way you see it even in high school football is really attack on our culture. And there is something about grinding. There is something about going forward in adversity that about our culture that does not like the individual who will go face forward in adversity, face forward when pushback is coming. There's something about our current present culture that wants you to give up and rely on other entities to help you through adversity instead of yourself. And that's where I see this as an attack on football. All right, good. We got that out of the way. You sit here for 2 days and you want to talk and you don't get a chance to. So maybe if things go right, we can go Tuesday, Thursday. That'd make this a 5-day-a-week show. That would be fun. Trayvon Diggs, what a bummer, right? Practice, man. We're talking about practice. And the kid goes down with an ACL. I'm not a Cowboy fan. And honestly, I've always felt that Trayvon Diggs is a more elite version of Janoris Jackrabbit Jenkins, who used to play for the Rams. Trayvon Diggs gambles a lot. You can see where his ultimate grades come out on PFF. He's not top 10. This year, he is top 10. He does make plays, but it's often feast or famine for him. So he's never been my favorite corner. But to go out like this, especially in a year that is looking promising for the Pokes, that is tragic. It really is a shame. Number 2, Anthony Richardson, right? Anthony Richardson has been ruled out this week. Well, I'm sorry. You're very, very doubtful for this week. I got to check that again. But I keep hearing, again, from different parts of the KBM is, hey, you got to lean into what you do. Anthony Richardson should run. Lamar should run. Jalen should run. Justin Fields should run. Well, Anthony Richardson runs, and now he's out with a concussion. He started 2 games, has yet to finish a single one of them, and he's questionable for the 3rd game of his pro career. Football's not risk averse. Running the football for a quarterback is not risk averse. And you're going to take punishment, and it's easy for everyone to say, hey, run the ball. But you take hits, right? And you need to have these guys learn how to pass, run out of necessity, run to escape. But a lot of those design runs, you better think twice about it before you just commit to saying your quarterback should run all the time. And before everyone gets all hot about Lamar Jackson and how well the Ravens are playing right now, they beat the Texans and they beat the Bengals with an ailing Joe Burrow. So we'll see more about the Ravens. In fact, OBJ is out this week, so we'll see. I predicted Wednesday, that the 49ers would win 38-13. They won 30-12. So maybe that's not too bad. I think I got close, right? And the Giants hung around longer than they should have. A little bit more experience, just like in that Ram game by a few of the Rams skill players. And maybe Frisco's not 3-0. But more importantly, I do believe while Frisco might be right now the best team in the NFC, maybe the NFL, they don't seem invincible to me. Do they seem invincible to you? They really don't. I'm not crazy about their offensive line. I think their offensive line is vulnerable beyond Trent Williams. I still believe their secondary can be vulnerable unless they get that pass rush. And the Giants' offensive line is horrible. And the blame for the Giants being 1-2 needs to be spread around. It can't be just put on Daniel Jones's shoulders. Again, that's low-hanging media fruit because for some reason there is a bias against Daniel Jones, who I don't think is a great quarterback, but there are a lot of bad quarterbacks out there, and you don't just need to say Daniel Jones is the only one. Finally, thinking about last night, is anyone sick of Christian McCaffrey's tough guy act? I think he's cruising for a bruising. He does run hard. Deebo Samuel runs and plays hard. And don't you just get the feeling by the way they play that it's only a matter of time again before these key 49er players go down? I mean, George Kittle finished the game, but there was a moment George Kittle was kind of holding his hip and and walking around and stretching. Just stuff to keep in mind. Getting ready for the Rams on Monday. Here we go. Injury report. Brian Allen did not practice. Brian Allen, Puka Nacua, and Kobe Durant did not practice on Thursday. Brian Allen is sick. He's not starting, so that's okay. Puka Nacua, I'm for him sitting out as much as he can with that oblique. I do have a note here later in the show where I'm talking about he does seem to take a lot of hits. And, everyone's got a hit count. And we don't want to see him exceed that hit count too early his rookie year. Kobe Durant is nursing a groin injury. He did not practice on Thursday, but there's no listing of him being out. Joe Noteboom and Jonah Williams are limited. Jonah Williams with a little bit of tender back, and Joe Noteboom, of course, with a bruised shoulder. Joe Burrow is questionable, highly questionable for Monday. Honestly, if it's a calf, they need to rest him. They need to shut him down now and push for the back half of the season. Hope the Steelers never get it together. Hope the Browns implode, and hope the Baltimore Ravens just fall apart because everyone gets hurt, because they always do. So you don't know if Joe Burrow's playing. I don't think he is, but it'll be interesting to see. Nick Scott is playing with the Bengals now, and he got a concussion last week. So his participation was limited, and no one knows if he's going to be available. In 2 games this year, Nick Scott has 121 snaps with the Bengals, and it's not been good. He has not looked good. His running partner last year, Taylor Rapp, has only played 24 snaps for the Bills, and he has not looked good. But you know who has looked good? Russ Yeast and Jordan Fuller. Nice move by the Rams management. Getting back to the Bengals, their offense is struggling. Of course, this is a Joe Burrow effect. Their defense isn't doing as well either. Their defense is having some struggles. They're in the very much the lower tier of the grades that are being put out by the NFL or Pro Football Focus. And of course, the key to Cincy without Joe Burrow is Joe Mixon. Mixon has not gotten a lot of carries. And he hasn't had a breakout game. I think he's averaging about 14 carries and 55 yards a game. And I would look for them to go that way. That's what I would think if they're going to start Jake Browning at quarterback. The Bengals, of course, have a killer core of receivers that would test the Rams as much as they would get tested by DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and JSN, as much as they would get tested by Ayuk and Samuel for the 49ers. Jamar Chase is pretty special, and those other dudes around him are pretty special too. But without Burrow, they don't have anyone experienced getting them the ball, just former Husky Jake Browning. So you're wondering, if you're Zach Taylor, are you thinking, man, I don't know if I'm going to win this game anyway. Maybe we should just throw caution to the wind and just have Browning throw, or maybe we just pound Mixon up the gut. And that's what has me curious, because it's hard to get a lock. Coming off Seattle and Frisco, there's nothing scary about the Cincy defense beyond that they're NFL defense, and you have to respect them, right? Their number 1 pick, Miles Murphy, the defensive tackle out of Clemson, he's only played 32 snaps in 2 games. He runs about 6'5", 275, and nothing special so far. So that might open things up for the Rams in the running game. And that's the interesting thing about the Rams. I mentioned it last week that they needed to throw the ball a lot, and they did. I think the Rams against the Bengals have the ability to run and to pass. This isn't the front 7 of the 49ers. This is the front 7 of the Bengals. Because with Burrow, Cincy's defense only has to be competent. Without Burrow, it's going to need to be almost perfect. I see this game. I see the Rams getting a convincing win. I know that sounds terribly optimistic, sounds almost borderline fanboy. But when I think about what the Rams offense is doing right now, how the offensive line is healthy right now, I was looking at the practice squad, and all the players, the Rams are kind of bouncing back and forth. They brought up a wide receiver or two. They've brought up Royce Freeman. They've brought guys up because you're allowed to bring guys up and down. Do you know who hasn't come up? Mike McAllister hasn't come up. AJ Akuri hasn't come up. Logan Bruss hasn't come up. And what is this? Grant Miller hasn't come up. And what does this tell us? This tells us that those players that were on the practice squad last year that were already on the active roster at this time a year ago. That offensive line this year has been healthy, and so that's encouraging. So I think I think the Rams have a shot, right? And I think they do. I think they have a good shot of winning this game. And so I'm going with Rams 38-21. And I'm seeing things in a positive light here. As long as, again, it's always conditional. Can Stafford stay healthy? Can Stafford stay up top? And can the receiving core stay healthy until Cooper Kupp's return? And so it'll be interesting. Frisco definitely is the best team around right now, but Frisco has holes, and the Rams exploited them. And Cincy has more holes than Frisco did, and I think this gives the Rams an opportunity. A couple things you're kind of curious to see, I know, and I'm curious to see is Steelers will have it together soon. Okay, Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri. Couple things I'm curious to see is what the Rams are going to do in terms of Kyren Williams and sharing the load. I'm highly suspect of Kyren Williams being this feature guy the whole season, right? And so I'm curious to see, what are they going to do with Ronnie Rivers? Is Ronnie Rivers actually going to get some significant snaps? And you think about Ronnie Rivers' story. You get into camp and the Rams have Cam Akers. They have Kyren Williams. They've drafted Zach Evans, and they traded or they re-signed Sony Michel. And that put Ronnie Rivers 5 deep, right? And then out of the blue, Sony Michel retires. Cam Akers self-implodes, right? And now we're curious between the rookie Zach Evans, who we thought might be third on the depth chart, or Ronnie Rivers, because Ronnie Rivers was the one that suited up last week. Will Ronnie Rivers be sharing some of the load? I don't care who's sharing the load as much as I don't want to see Kyren Williams getting more than 20 carries or 25 total touches, because I don't think he's built to last. You're not going to get 17 games out of him if his touches are exceeding 30 a game. So just what I'm saying, keep that in mind. I want to see the offensive line to continue together to improve. I want to see them take 75 to 80 snaps again together. We know Noteboom got derailed, but he's back in the lineup. Ankrum plugged the hole nicely for that second half last week. And so I want to see this offensive line stay together. And of course, we want to see the defense to continue to get off the field. Hey, I led the call, #FireRaheem.com. I mean, that was me. I agree. I thought that defense last year was horrible. And they needed to be more competitive. And I don't know what they were trying to protect. They weren't going to win anyway as the offensive line fell apart. But this year, the corners are up. They're pressing more. There's no give-me's. And so it's nice to see them competitive. And don't stress. Can I just tell you, don't stress about Darian Kendrick picking up, a pass interference penalty here and there. Let this kid continue to develop. He was graded before things kind of went south personally off the field in his college career. He would have been higher than a 6th-round pick. And he's got, maybe he's got 2nd-round talent. I'm not saying 1st round, but he's got 2nd or 3rd-round talent. And don't dismiss him as the 6th round of the Rams are just doing stopgap. I like him, and I think he's going to develop into something very competent and special at the CB position. Kobe Durant has not had a time really to shine this year. Hopefully his groin is okay. And Ahkello Witherspoon, right? Nice job, man. Good job by the front office. As long as he's healthy and doesn't turn his back on DK Metcalf, he's going to be fine. Looking at the edge, Michael Hoyt, the key thing for him is hold the edge, right? And be maybe a little more active in the backfield. He's had 3 hurries in each of the first 2 games. That's 6 total. Byron Young is the one that people are getting impressed with. 8 pressures, 4 hurries, 2 hits, 2 sacks in 2 games. I'm going to go on the limb here and say Byron Young gets 2 sacks this week. There we go. Boom. Lock it. Byron Young gets 2 sacks. If Byron Young gets 2 sacks, I want somebody to send me something really nice. And again, the pressure is on Russ East and Jordan Fuller to keep the Bengals from going over the top. We don't want even Jake Browning desperately throwing long to those Bengal receivers, Boyd, Higgins, and of course Chase. If the Bengals try to protect Browning and they try the run game, expect, of course, obviously, Yeast or Fuller to step up closer to the line of scrimmage. And then that's, of course, where the Bengals could take their shot. The interior has played competently. Kobe Turner, for a third rounder, is actually playing well. Jonah Williams has been steady. And, of course, Aaron Donald's Aaron Donald. He's just eaten up all the traffic. We do want to see Bobby Brown break out a little bit more. And hopefully we'll get that this week. Puka Nacua, is it just me or does he take a lot of big hits? He takes a lot of hits, and again, there is that hit clock and that hit count, and we don't want to see him get thumped and bounced too soon this year. Oh, wow. Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri, is actually picking the Rams. How awesome. But yeah, I am a little bit worried about the hits he's taking. He has been nothing short of amazing. I don't know why people aren't all buying Puka shells. Tutu Atwell, of course, yes, amazing. Haven't you been impressed with the Atwell's hands? I mean, that really needs to be something to be talked about. Atwell's hands have been fantastic. And anyone thinking Van Jefferson, he really needs to make some noise this week. And I get the feeling he's going to make a play or two. Hey, I am not on the Van Jefferson bandwagon. Of the three receivers, he is the weakest. He is not a number one. He's not a number two. But Van Jefferson can play NFL football. He wouldn't be in the lineup if he couldn't play football. But sometimes he just melts, and he really needs to catch some fire this week against Cincy if a lot of the attention is going to go to Nacua, maybe Atwell. Another guy to keep an eye on is maybe, although I saw in my fantasy notes it said sit Tyler Higbee. I got to believe Higbee is ready for some action, and that'll be interesting to see. Offensive line, say the same thing every week. Just need to say Jackson, Avila, Shelton, Noteboom, and Havenstein, right? Jackson, Avila, Shelton, Noteboom, and Havenstein. One more time. Jackson, Avila, Shelton, Noteboom, Havenstein. Okay. I'm Joe Tarosian, and I was a sports writer for 21 years. I still am kind of. And now I do RamView, thanks to my sponsors at Kistler Law and Temple City Auto. I want to thank you for checking those places out. And I do that, and I write books. And my books can be found on Amazon. I've written a couple high school football novels that were well received. And you can check all those out on Amazon. Just type in Joe Tarosian, Torosian, and they'll all come up. I do those things to support me as I work my day job. I am the pastor of a small church in Burbank. Burbank Faith Virtual is right here on YouTube. And also Burbank Faith Brick and Mortar is in Burbank, California. And you can check us out as we're all across social media. Just type in Burbank Faith Virtual, and I'm sure we'll come up. College football this week, I gave you my top 10. On Wednesday, USC, Texas, Washington, Notre Dame, Florida State, Utah, Alabama, Colorado, LSU, Washington State. These are just the teams I've seen. I haven't seen everybody. I'm rooting, first time in my life, when the enemy of your enemy plays your enemy. So that enemy is your friend. So I'm rooting for Notre Dame against Ohio State. So I like Sam Hartman. I think Washington's going to tear apart Cal, and Oregon, Colorado, man, that one is really, really, really interesting, and we'll see how that plays out. Okay. Ram news. The Rams have signed free agent cornerback Michael Ojemudia. He's 26. He played college ball at Iowa. He was 77th overall by the Broncos in 2020. Spent last season with Chicago. The Rams have signed him to the practice squad. And he joins Curry, Bruss, Copeland, Royce Freeman, Tanner Engel, Tyler Johnson, Nicola Kalinick, Mike McAllister, Cameron McCutcheon, Brant Miller, Xavier Smith, Kier Thomas, Austin Trammell, Muller Forrestal, and Corey Durden, who was signed this week. Like to keep an eye on that practice squad to see who the Rams can reach down and bring up. Looking at week 3, 49ers beat the Giants 30-12. I said 38-13. I'm putting that one in my pocket. I did at least predict who the winner was. Colts, Ravens. Colts, no Anthony Richardson. Ravens, no OBJ. But hey, it sounds like I bag on Lamar Jackson. I don't. He's a great player. I just hope he stays healthy. I like the Ravens in this game. Titans, Browns. Cleveland bounces back at home. Craig Newsome out. I think Deshaun Watson is going to bear down a little bit. I think Kareem Hunt's going to get some good action this week. And I just don't believe in the Titans. I just don't. Sorry, Titan fans out there. Falcons, Lions. It's an important game for Detroit. If Detroit really they lost CJ Gardner Johnson. They lost him to injured reserve. They need to win this game. They're at home. They win on the road in Philly. Not in Philly, in KC, in Arrowhead, opening game, all the spotlights. And then they dropped that game to Seattle. That was a bad, bad loss. They need this win against the Falcons at home to get back on track. Packers Saints. I do like the Packers in this game because they're in Lambeau. Saints don't have Marcus May abusing the substance abuse policy of the league. He's suspended for 3 weeks. But it's questionable whether or not the Packers are going to have Aaron Jones, Christian Watson, David Bakhtiari, their draft pick, Luke Van Ness, or even Zaire Alexander. They're all questionable. But I'm still going to go with the Packers. I don't think the Saints are that impressive. I think their defense is a little bit overrated, considering who they've played. Texans, Jaguars. Jaguars got to get on track, right? And what should help is Derek Stingley, the highly drafted corner out of LSU last year, is out with a hamstring issue. He missed the last 7 games a year ago with a hamstring. And if you really look, excuse me, allergies. If you really look, going back to his freshman year, Derek Stingley Jr. has not been the same. Of course, his grandfather is Darryl Stingley, or was Darryl Stingley, the Patriots wide receiver who was turned into a quadriplegic in that tragic accident all those years ago. But Derek Stingley was drafted 3rd overall in 2022. And outside of his freshman year, man, he hasn't done a whole lot. He didn't pick off another pass after his freshman year, and he parlayed that in the 3rd pick of the draft in 2022. And he's been less than impressive. And so, again, I like the Jaguars in this game, even though CJ Stroud is improving. Broncos, Dolphins. Here's the one I'm leaning on. Denver's going to pull something. I know that sounds crazy, but you got Sean Payton, and you got Patrick Surtain on Tyreek Hill, and Jalen Waddle is in concussion protocol. It's not a terrible Broncos team. They just don't have a great quarterback, right? And they're still feeling everything out. I could see the Broncos doing something here where it kind of breaks the spell that the whole league has fallen under when it comes to the Fins. Everyone thinks the Fins, McDaniel's the next Bill Walsh, and this is the greatest show on turf. It's like slow your roll. It's like 2 games into the season, and let's see what happens. I'm going to go Broncos. I'm frustrated as heck to pick the Chargers against the Vikings. The Chargers are not going to have Eckler. They're not going to have Kendricks. They're not going to have Bosa. They're all out. But they do have Justin Herbert. And this is a Viking team that lost at home to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So if they lose, Kiffin theory that Brandon Staley should be kiffined on the tarmac is still in play. Send me a note if you don't know what it is to get kiffined. Patriots, Jets. Patriots don't have a season. I don't see them going anywhere. The Jets are still in the realm of belief. And wouldn't it be interesting that a Zach Wilson-led victory over the Patriots, highly unlikely, but possible, and I'm going to go with the possible. He puts Bill Belichick on the hot seat. Bill Belichick starts the season 0-3. Yeah, that seat's going to get a little bit warm, and it makes you wonder about the future there. Bills, Taxskins. Our good friend Rob in Missouri, Steeler fan, he likes the Taxskins. I do too, but I'm going to go with the Bills in a very close game. They can't fool around with that DC defense. That DC defense is solid, and it's getting better. And Sam Howell is good enough to beat you, especially if you make mistakes. So I think the Bills are going to tighten ship, and I think they're going to pull out a squeaker there. And I guess they're expecting rain from one of the tropical storms. Panthers, Seahawks. Carolina looks young, and they'll be without Bryce Young. I see the Seahawks winning by a couple of touchdowns here. Cowboys, Cardinals, right? Dallas needs to crush the Cards to take away their hope. Please do. And there's no Buddha for the Cardinals. No Trayvon for the Cowboys. No Buddha Baker for the Cardinals. He's on IR. Trayvon or no Trayvon, the Cowboys should win this game. Bears 0-2 going to Kansas City. KC, just keep Mahomes healthy and don't even play him in the second half. You need to win this game, but you just need to make sure nobody gets hurt. And yeah, I see the Chiefs in a romp there. Steelers, Raiders on Sunday. Pittsburgh can't lose this game. They just can't lose this game. Cannot happen. If they lose this game, Matt Canada should be kiffined on the tarmac and told not to get on the team bus or not get on the team plane. This one would be bad. Jimmy Garoppolo's playing actually pretty well. The Raiders are who we thought they were, that team that was in Buffalo last week. But the Steelers are not so far who we thought they'd be. I was bought in. I don't want to say I drank the Kool-Aid. I believe there was legitimate reasons to believe in this Steeler team, and they were so lucky against the Browns they got to bear down here, man. They got to bear down. And here's the funny thing: when you need to bear down, you start pounding the ball on the ground. But they've been terrible running the ball. So I'm just going to say the Raiders are going to Raider, and Pittsburgh will pull this one out. The North Georgia Eagles against the Buccaneers on Monday night. I'd love to see Tampa Bay win, but I have a feeling, again, Philly is cruising for a bruising. And when they take their bruising and when they take their fall, I want it to happen in SoFi. That game in a few weeks that I had earmarked totally as a Philly dominant win suddenly doesn't feel so dominant from the Philly end. And I think the Buccaneers could surprise because the Eagles are not playing good football. They're not, even by their own admission, they're not playing good football. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm going with the North Georgia Eagles in this one. Where are we at here? Rams. Oh, yeah. Horns up. Rams 38-21. Okay. Last week, week 1, I was 9-7 in my picks. Week 2, I was 10-6 with my picks. All right. Just looking around other things here. Well, no, we just did. We just looked around all those things. I don't need to break down the teams. Hey, let's look at this date in NFL history, or not in NFL history, in Ram history. On this date in 1970, the Rams signed former New England Green Bay Packer running back Elijah Pitts to the taxi squad, and that kind of began a long relationship with the Rams. Pitts was the Rams running back coach for several years under Chuck Knox, and eventually he ended up in Buffalo. But on this day in 1970, the Rams signed him. On this day in 1987, the NFL players went out on strike for 24 days, and replacement players were brought in to the agony of, I'm not going to say to the fans, I love the replacement players, but to the players themselves that had walked out. There were incidences outside the stadium, Jack Del Rio attacking Otis Taylor. And again, I go back to what the players were arguing for. They should have been arguing against artificial turf. They had it low on the list, and they should have been arguing for the higher benefits for those retired players who came before them, and that was very low on the list. What they wanted was free agency, and I understand free agency, and as a result, they ultimately got it. And this is one of the places where it started: the '87 strike, the '82 strike, that happened 36 years ago today. Interesting. Rams missed the playoffs in '82. It was a strike-shortened year. Rams missed the playoffs in '87. It was a strike-shortened year. In '88, they went to the playoffs. '89, they went to the playoffs. '86, they were in the playoffs. '83, they were in the playoffs. And I don't want to say strikes derailed those Rams seasons. Those weren't very good Ram teams. But NFL players went on strike. The amazing thing about that I'll always remember is the Cowboy veterans came back, and the Redskins kept their replacement players, and their replacement players won their last game. I think they were 3-0 total. They won their last game against the Cowboys, who had a lot of regulars back. And I think that was the impetus for the movie The Replacements, the Gene Hackman, Keanu Reeves movie. Anyway, on this date in 1993, Hall of Fame wide receiver wasn't one yet, James Lofton signed with the Rams. He only appeared in one game for the team in a 37-6 loss to the Saints at home, caught one pass for 16 yards, and then they put him in the street in October of that year. But I thought it was interesting that James Lofton signed with the Rams. I don't even remember it. I came across this and I saw it. It's like, wow. 2009, on this date, the Rams signed Danny Amendola off the Philadelphia Eagles practice squad. Hey, Amendola played 4 seasons with the Rams, caught 196 of his 617 passes with the Rams over 4 seasons. He played 13 seasons total. and appeared in 3 Super Bowls with New England, winning 2. Amendola had a nice career, and he was one of the few bright spots in some of those dark years for the Rams. On this day in 2021, Micah Kiser was signed off the Rams practice squad by the Denver Broncos, thus ending the Rams affiliation with the former 5th rounder out of Virginia in 2018. Some other stuff here. I'll mention it. On this date, and this is the last thing I'm going to say because there's other dates here, but on this date in 1967, Friday, September 22nd, the Rams played the Minnesota Vikings in a Friday night game at the Coliseum on September 22nd, and the Rams crushed them 39-3. The defense was dominant. Jack Pardee had a 40-yard pick six return. Eddie Metter, who should have been in the Hall of Fame, had 2 picks, and Maxie Bond, who just recently passed away, another guy that should have already been in the Hall of Fame, he had a pick as well. Gabriel only threw, he threw 23 passes, only completed 6, came out of the game late, and who was it? It was Bill Munson actually came in and threw a touchdown pass to Bucky Pope, one of the last of his career. So the Rams on a Friday night, NFL game Friday night at the Coliseum, they beat the Vikings 39-3, literally on this day, 56 years ago. Wow. Okay. Rethinking the whole thing. The Rams beat the Bengals this week. Wow. What an amazing start to the season, and what an amazing thing in terms of going forward with how the whole approach to this season. It's going to be, it just changes everything to go 2-1, possibly 3-1 when you're facing, I think, is it Philly in week 5 at SoFi, and then you're facing maybe a wounded Pittsburgh team in SoFi trying to reestablish itself. What opportunity for the Rams that I don't think anyone ever saw. And my problem is that when the Rams are playing really well, I eat bad food. I put weight on. When the Rams are playing well, I get stressed. I wasn't stressed in the first 2 weeks. Now I can feel the stress building going into Monday night's game. All right. I think we've got it. I think we're good.
It was a stone groove, my man.
Yes, it was a stone groove. Rob, Steeler fan in Missouri. He has the Rams beating the Bengals 27-23. He has the Steelers beating the Raiders 24-17. And I think I got a call from my friend Tim Burns. I think he had the Rams pulling this one out. I think I'll have to double check. All right, guys, thank you so much for clicking on. Thank you so much for all the likes, all the subscriptions. Please continue to do so. Like and subscribe here. Go to Spotify, where our footprint is very small. It's almost micro small. But please click on here, hit the likes, hit the subscribe button, as it helps keep us in the algorithm and gets the word out there. Thank you so much for your support. And we will see you on Monday. I'm going to try to get on early before game time, and we'll go from there. God bless. Take care. And hey, go Rams.